Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, July 6th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. It's happening again. Another attempt to place a sexually violent predator in a local community. And this time, it's the same man who brought out residents en masse before in an effort to stop it. KPBS's John Carroll now with where he's attempting to settle this time.
The state tried to place Douglas Badger in supervised homes twice last year. First, it was in Mount Helix. A judge rejected the move. Then it was Rancho Bernardo. The people who owned that home withdrew from the process before a judge had a chance to rule. Neighbors pushed back strongly in both locales. Now, the state wants to place the sexually violent predator here, in this home on Zuni Trail in Borrego Springs.
Yeah, people of Borrego Springs are at their wits' end. They feel like they're being dumped on with these sexually violent predators.
Predators, plural, because the Department of State Hospitals is also proposing putting this sexually violent predator, Michael Martinez, in a supervised home in Borrego Springs. KPBS reached out to the department for a comment. They sent us a statement which says, in part, the DSH continues to follow the SVP, Sexually Violent Predators Act, and any orders issued by the court. Ultimately, it is up to the court to determine placement of SVPs into community locations as a part of the conditional release program. Desmond says it shouldn't just be up to courts. He and his fellow supervisors want the county to not just have a say, but have veto power on any SVP placement. But he says ultimately, legislators in Sacramento must change the law governing how SVPs are placed.
It's got to come down to our folks in Sacramento to change the laws. And like I said, the attempt was made with Supervisor Jones, but maybe we can get the rest of the contingent together.
Between 2006 and 2007, Badger lived in a trailer on the grounds of the Donovan Prison in Otay Mesa. Desmond and Supervisor Nathan Fletcher say that might end up being the solution of where to place SVPs, or at least until the legislature figures something out. A court hearing is scheduled for August 5th on Badger's placement. You can comment in person in court or anytime between July 8th and the 22nd by contacting the Sheriff's Department's Sexual Assault Felony Enforcement Task Force at 858-495-3619, by emailing them at sdsafe@sheriff.org, or by regular mail to SVP Release, Safe Task Force, 9425 Chesapeake Drive, San Diego, 92123. We will have all that information on our website, kpbs.org. John Carroll, KPBS News.
We're learning more about the victims killed during the shooting at a July 4th parade in Illinois, and there are new chilling details about the suspect's violent past. Here's reporter Chris Nguyen.
In Highland Park, Illinois, a community grieves after enduring the unthinkable. 2-year-old Aiden McCarthy, now an orphan, following the July 4th parade that killed 7 people, including his parents, Irina and Kevin.
I don't know how they're going to tell him.
Senator Tammy Duckworth says Good Samaritans found Aiden underneath his father, who died at the scene.
I'll never forget. I pulled up and I said, "This is not our kid. It's not his blood. He's okay. What should we do?" And a cop said, "We can't be babysitters now. Can you take care of him?"
The suspect, Robert Cremo III, made his first court appearance Wednesday and now faces 7 counts of first-degree murder. The victims, ranging in age from the 30s to the 80s. Dozens more were injured in the attack.
There are many different charges that we are reviewing with respect to the other individuals who have sadly been injured by this, frankly, who were present on the scene. They were shot at. That may also constitute an attempt murder charge.
Local authorities say the suspect, who is now being held without bond, opened fire from a rooftop as the parade got underway. More than 70 high-velocity rounds were fired with a rifle, similar to an AR-15, according to a spokesperson with the Lake County Major Crime Task Force. Authorities say the suspect contemplated carrying out another attack in Madison, Wisconsin, with another weapon in his car, but ultimately did not go through with that attack. Chris Wynn, KPBS News.
San Diego is getting ready to host some of its biggest events with the Pride Parade and Comic-Con just weeks away. Like every year, security will be tight, and San Diego police are preparing now. They're checking out any tips from the community and looking at social media to see if people are making any threats or concerning statements. Lieutenant Adam Sharkey says people shouldn't be afraid to go to large events, but they should be aware of their surroundings and not second-guess themselves if something doesn't feel right.
It's enough for someone to take a double take and say, wow, that's really concerning, or wow, that seems really concerning. Give the police department a call, or you can submit a tip or a lead anonymously.
The department is down 160 officers, but Sharkey says officers will be reassigned to make sure the big events are fully staffed. Pride celebrations kick off on July 15th, and Comic-Con is July 21st through the 24th. Some San Diegans say their water has been tasting funny lately, and it's not their imagination. There is something in the water, but as KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado explains, the city says it's not harmful.
When did you first notice your water tasting a little funny?
It was probably last Wednesday.
And what did it taste like?
Dirt or must.
Jean Diedrich lives in the Bankers Hill neighborhood of San Diego. She says her water didn't look or feel any different, but it did smell bad. And while neighbors discussed it among themselves and asked the property manager about it, all they could do is guess what could be wrong with their water and if it was safe to drink.
Well, our property manager seems to think that there was some issue with a water intake line from the city, but I've never received anything official about that.
Meanwhile, just down the street at Barrio Star, restaurant and bar,
it's been mentioned by the customers. They're coming to drink water.
Michael Simpson, the general manager, says locals aren't just coming in for his delicious Mexican soul food.
This lady came in yesterday. She said, oh my God, a good glass of water. It feels good.
He says they have a great filtration system, but he keeps hearing customers complain about the taste and smell of what's coming out of their faucets in their homes.
A lot of customers that live in the area, regulars from the restaurant, have mentioned that the water tastes like basically dirt, that it has this aftertaste that is really ugly.
We reached out to the city of San Diego. They told us the change in taste and smell is caused by an organic compound called MIB that is not toxic or harmful. The issue is happening in the Alvarado water treatment plant and should resolve itself in a few days. The plant provides water mainly to the central section of the city. Diedrich told us her water is back to normal now, but wishes the city would have communicated better with her and her community.
That's always the problem, right, is letting people know real information so that they don't make up stories and get concerned.
Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
In an all too familiar trend, COVID case numbers, hospitalizations, and deaths are on the rise as the U.S. makes its way through yet another summer surge. The latest report from San Diego County shows case numbers still averaging around 1,000 a day. The uptick is fueled by the highly transmissible BA.5 subvariant. Dr. Eric Topol, director of the Scripps Research Translational Institute, says the FDA is working on a variant-specific booster for the fall, but there is a problem.
This virus is evolving very fast, much faster than it had in previous times, and we are just not getting ahead of it or even keeping up. And that's the situation we're in right now, unfortunately.
However, Dr. Topol says it's still important for anyone who is eligible for a fourth COVID vaccine, including those over the age of 50 and the immunocompromised, to get one. Arguments regarding the legality of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program known as DACA are being heard today in a New Orleans federal appeals court. For 10 years, the program has protected immigrants brought to the U.S. illegally as children from deportation. A lawsuit brought forth by Texas and other states claims it placed a burden on the states and was an executive overreach by President Obama. Last July, a Texas judge ruled the program was unlawful and blocked the government from approving new applications. According to immigration officials, there are more than 611,000 so-called dreamers in the U.S. Friendship Park is a place where families separated by the border can see and talk to each other through the fence. But new plans by the Biden administration to rebuild the border wall may put an end to that tradition. KPBS border reporter Gustavo Solis spoke with activists who are angered by the new developments.
This latest announcement really amounts to the complete desecration of this historic location.
John Fanistil is a longtime advocate for Friendship Park. He says replacing the existing fence with two 30-foot tall walls would destroy any sense of binational unity in this space. Friendship Park is located in the coastal borderlands near Imperial Beach and has become hallowed ground for families separated by the border. Loved ones have used this park as a gathering space where they can see and even talk to each other. But plans for the new wall do not include gates or any space for families to see each other. Reverend Seth Clark says that he's shocked by the plans, particularly because President Joe Biden ran on a campaign promise to stop Trump's border wall.
And that's really disappointing, right? Because there was this promise that things were going to be different, that there would not be any more walls.
The park has actually been closed to the public since February 2020. It was initially closed because of heavy rain, but Customs and Border Protection hasn't reopened it, citing staffing issues. Clark says that families hoping to reunite with loved ones in Mexico still visit the park today, not knowing that it's currently closed. He's had to break the sad news to families traveling from as far away as Seattle.
And every time that happens, it's still a tragedy. It still breaks our hearts when we see that.
Customs and Border Protection confirmed their plans to relocate the existing fence, but the agency did not respond directly to questions about public access in the future. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
More technology is making its way into San Diego operating rooms. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman shows us a new visual enhancement program that doctors here are using for the first time.
Shoulder surgeries at Scripps Health are taking on a whole new dimension.
Bringing VR or mixed reality to the operating room has been an interest for a while now.
Orthopedic surgeon Brian Rebolledo is the first Scripps doctor to use a mixed reality system for shoulder replacement surgeries. It's not virtual reality because doctors can still see what they're doing. Surgeons wear a headset with special eyeglasses. They show holographic surgery models in 3 dimensions. To the doctor, the images look like they're almost suspended up in the air.
That's when we can then manipulate those holograms, place them over where we need to have them. You look a little funny. It's voice command. It's visual command here with your fingers, but I can drag that over almost as if it'd be a piece of art that you're replicating.
To create the hologram model, patients first have to undergo a CT scan. Rebolledo says precision is key when it comes to shoulder procedures, and being able to have a digital reference right in his eye line helps with complicated operations.
Shoulder replacement, as in a lot of surgery, it's a game of millimeters. And, to be off by just a little bit can really have severe implications. And so for us to be able to use this and make it really perfect each time, I think is a significant value and significant benefit to patients here.
Last week, Rebolledo successfully completed his first shoulder implant using this new mixed reality system. He says the technology is not a fad, and it's all geared toward improving patient outcomes.
You think about how surgery has changed really even in the last 10 years. I mean, we have robots now in the operating room. We now are bringing mixed reality headsets in the operating room. Our implants are getting better.
The mixed reality system was created by medical supplier Stryker. A spokesperson says this technology focuses on shoulder surgeries, but other companies use similar versions for spine and hip procedures. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Utah's Great Salt Lake is in decline, hitting a low not seen in more than a century. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the lake's surface water elevation is just under 4,200 feet. That is the lowest the lake has been since the mid-1800s when records began. State officials are calling for urgent measures to help save the lake. Water use and drought conditions fueled by climate change are the main reasons for the historic low.
Our gradual warming trend that we've been experiencing, it continues through the weekend, so some good news there. Near and along the immediate coast, it's going to remain on the cool side, and that's because we also do have those morning low clouds and fog that we are expecting. As we take it into the evening hours tonight across the metro area, increasing clouds will hold some temperatures into the mid-60s, expecting that across San Diego, El Cajon, Chula Vista as well. A little bit cooler across Oceanside, Escondido, Ramona. Some double fives in the forecast there for your overnight lows. Borrego Springs 73, Mount Laguna 58, Campo will be 54. Heading into Thursday, it's dry for most of you. We still have some limited monsoonal moisture going on from Albuquerque all the way up to Denver. Very warm starting across the Great Basin. That warming trend, it's going to continue. And then across the coast, well, it might be a little bit cool into the immediate coast. It will be comfortable for July's standards. So again, pretty nice in San Diego, 73, Escondido into the lower 80s, Ramona 87, Borrego Springs 106, and Mount Laguna getting up to 77 degrees. Campo, you'll be about 88. You can see the morning low clouds and maybe some fog throughout those morning hours. Again, for your Friday, it's on the comfortable side here, and dry and seasonably hot as we take it into a place like Vegas and Phoenix, and then really Cedar City to Grand Junction and Denver. You'll start to feel that warmth kind of expanding. Some spotty showers limited even more across New Mexico. Here's a look at the coast. The warming trend up to 79 for Saturday, cooling back down as we head into the start of another work week, working your way inland. A little warming trend once again. Over the weekend, temperatures will be in the mid to upper 80s across the mountains. Warming trend for you as well. That really gets into gear and kind of stays in the lower 80s for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, with plenty of sunshine in the forecast. And, you know, across the desert, you're looking at temperatures climbing into the triple digits already, but even going up into the teens. 113 degrees for Saturday, 114 for Sunday. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Michelle Rotella.
Some good news at the pump as gas prices have dropped 21 consecutive days. The average price for regular unleaded in the county is now $6.19. During the past 3 weeks, prices have dropped 18 cents. This despite a gas tax increase of 3 cents last Friday. The national average of gas is currently at $4.78. Having a new car doesn't necessarily mean you'll have less car trouble. J.D. Power reports people had more problems in the first 90 days of having a new vehicle than ever before. The Consumer Insights Group surveyed more than 84,000 people who had bought or leased a model 2022 vehicle. 11% reported more issues than in 2021. That is a big jump, considering the highest increase ever seen in 36 years was 3%. Still, with supply chain challenges and record high prices, analysts say it's somewhat surprising initial quality didn't fall even more. Many businesses have struggled to stay afloat during the pandemic, and the child care industry is no different. And now daycare services are dealing with another blow: inflation. Gabe Cohen reports on how it's all causing owners and parents to make tougher decisions.
At Kid Stuff Child Care Center in Baltimore, the cost of food, rent, power, and supplies is soaring.
Everything is up.
And Angela Kadani has raised wages roughly 40%, but is still struggling to hire staff, with one classroom closed and her wait list growing.
We're probably up between 30 to 35% for operating costs. That cost, too, is going to have to be passed along to our parents.
This fall, she'll raise tuition at her nonprofit for the third time in 12 months. In all, up 30%. For some families, thousands of dollars a year.
What would happen if you didn't raise tuition prices?
We couldn't survive. We wouldn't stay open.
Programs nationwide are raising rates for the same reasons.
It's happening everywhere. To keep the doors open, this is what has to happen. And it's going to continue to get worse.
Inflation is just part of it. At least 15,000 programs have closed, with 11% fewer child care workers than pre-pandemic, leaving an industry with a median wage just over $13 an hour. Now many parents face longer wait lists and tuition hikes.
Revenue's going down even though there's demand for it.
Because we just don't have enough teachers to be able to get the amount of children that we used to have into our buildings.
Sean Toner owns Beach Babies in Lewis, Delaware, a child care desert. He's raising tuition 8 to 10% this fall for the second straight year to offset inflation and raise teacher wages to roughly $14 an hour.
I don't want to be that person that's driving away the parents.
You go to sleep.
Jessica Gebbia is a teacher at Beach Babies, and her 5-year-old son comes here for daycare.
Most of my paycheck is going just to have him here, and that's rough because now we have gas prices, food prices, everything's just going up and up.
Have you thought about leaving the industry?
I love what I do, and I can't. These children need teachers who do love what they do.
But many mothers have left the workforce, part of a trend. As of May, women's jobs made up 88% of those lost in the pandemic.
This is Jasper.
Towen Zhang and her husband have struggled to afford childcare in San Diego, $370 a week, since her employer cut her hours in half. So she flew her sons to Taiwan to stay with family as she looks for a second job.
If I just quit my job and stay at home and watch my kids, maybe the whole thing will be easier for my family. I hate to say this, but this is true. And the reason why we're still struggling, trying to pay for this child care, that's because I don't want to give up my career.
Millions of parents are making tough choices. For Jessica and her husband, a decision not to expand their family.
We think we're just going to stick with the two.
How much of that is childcare?
The childcare plays a big part in that. I can't imagine having the two of them in daycare. There's just no way. I wouldn't be able to do this job.
The Biden administration is proposing new rules to make it easier for borrowers to get their federal student debt forgiven. The goal is to overhaul existing programs that have been criticized for piles of paperwork and long processing times. The process would be reworked for students deceived by their colleges, as well as for borrowers who are disabled and those with careers in public service. President Biden is still considering broader student debt forgiveness. For some, retirement means traveling the world or spending more time with their grandchildren. But for one San Marcos resident, it means connecting with his roots and building a Viking ship. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Nguyen brings us his story.
Meet Tom Kottmeyer.
The next thing we're doing after this is finished, we're going to put the decks in here. It doesn't need to be very precise, but if it's not well fitted, then it doesn't look right.
He's a retired sailor, and he's building a boat, and not just any boat, a Viking ship. Why?
Because they're very beautiful and excellent sailboats. That's my real motivation.
Kottmeyer's love for Viking ships started in 2001 when he and other volunteers helped build a replica Viking ship in Vancouver, Canada. He was that ship's first captain.
I found it such a lovely, excellent sailboat to be on that I thought this would be great to build my own sometime.
After talking about it for decades, Kottmeyer set about to finally build the ship when he retired in 2018. But he didn't have the space needed. In early 2000, he was able to fulfill his dream when the Sons of Norway Lodge in Vista offered to let him build on their property. About a year and a half into the project, Kottmeyer made a presentation at the lodge to ask for volunteers to help. That's where he met Ivar Schoenmeyer, a semi-retired engineer.
Yeah, I wanted to learn how to build a Viking ship.
Yeah, right.
And what is a Viking club without a Viking ship? I've been waiting for this for 5 years, for someone to come around and say, let's build a Viking ship.
Since then, Schoenmeyer has been driving down from San Juan Capistrano 2 days a week. Last fall, the lodge needed the land back to start hosting events again. Kottmeyer posted on the Nextdoor app to find a new home for the project.
It's just, it was amazing. I had 80 responses to the message, and 10 of them offered space.
That's how the ship ended up here in this backyard in Vista. Kottmeyer says the family is of Scandinavian descent.
The ship is called Sleipnir. When it's all done, there'll be 4 sailors on each side, total 8 in all.
The name came from Norse mythology. Sleipnir is Odin's 8-legged horse. Kottmeyer based the plans on a ship he built in Vancouver, which was a replica of the Gotstad, a 78-foot Viking ship unearthed from an ancient burial mound in Norway in the late 1800s.
This is 33 feet. Some of the Viking ships were 75 and even more long, and they could carry 50, 60, maybe even 100 people on board on long voyages. They carried all the provisions. They carried live animals, cattle and whatnot.
It's a scaled-down version of the Gottsdad, which created its own set of problems.
But the problem when you scale something like this is almost half scale, is it's okay lengthwise, but people are not half scale.
Yeah.
So we're stepping into
we're
a
sitting
half scale boat, and that is why we're sitting up. Because
right.
If it had been the real Gottsdad ship, these boards would be up here.
Right.
And so now we're going to be pretty close to the water. That will be interesting when we launch this to see, are we going to get swamped?
No, we're not. No.
Are we gonna
He's worried about me, about the ship sinking. It's not going to sink.
The ship is almost ready for prime time.
Oh yeah, we've still got a ways to go.
Kattmeyer hopes to have it ready for its maiden voyage in San Diego Bay this summer. After its maiden trip, the ship will be shipped to Norway in 2024 so Kattmeyer can sail into Stockholm Harbor. In Vista, Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
And here's another look at today's top stories. The state is once again trying to place a sexually violent predator at a supervised home in San Diego County. Last year, the Department of State Hospitals tried to put Douglas Badger in a home in Mount Helix, then in Rancho Bernardo. Neither placement happened. This time, the home is in Borrego Springs. Public input is being taken, then a judge will have the final say. And some San Diego residents say their water has been tasting funny and smelling bad lately. The city of San Diego says it's because of an organic compound called MIB affecting the Alvarado water treatment plant, which provides water mainly to the central section of the city. The city says MIB is not harmful and the problem will resolve itself in a few days. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.